And it's recording. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to be learning how to multiply using what's called partial products method. And another way that people call this, or another way to call partial products, is breaking apart. Okay? So we're going to start with one that's super easy, and then I'm going to increase the difficulty of it. All right? The whole idea of partial products and breaking apart, I'm going to use just a simple example. I'm going to do 9 times 2, and I know most of you right now sitting here could tell me that 9 times 2 is 18. It's pretty simple. But we're going to pretend that we didn't know that, okay? What we can do is we can take this 9 and we can break it apart, okay, into groups that make sense. So I'm going to break the 9 apart by using 5 and 4. I know I could do that because I know if I have 5 and I add 4 to it, it's going to give me a total of 9. Okay? I could break this 9 apart any way I want to. I could break it apart with 8 and 1 because 8 and 1 is 9. I could break it apart into 3 and 6. Okay? The reason I chose to do 5 and 4 is because I know 5 is a pretty easy number to multiply by. So I'm going to take this 5 and this 4 and I'm going to multiply both of them by 2. And if I do 5 times 2, I get 10. And if I multiply 4 by 2, I get 8. And if I add those two together, I do in fact get 18, just like we said before. Okay? Now I'm going to prove something to you. I chose to use 5 and 4. Remember how I said I could use any two numbers that add up to 9 and still get 18? I just want to prove that to you. Okay? So I'm going to use the numbers 3. Come on, pencil. I'm going to use the number 3, and I'm going to use the number 6. Okay? Because 3 plus 6 is 9. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And if I add these two together, I still get 18. It's not magic, people. It just works. Any two numbers that I could add up to get to 9 would work. Okay? Oh, did it freeze? Oh, no, it's still working. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause this. All right. Welcome to part 2. We're going to take that idea that we just learned about how we can break factors apart to get to our final product. Okay? But we're going to use more challenging numbers. I'm going to use the numbers 12 and 5. I'm going to try to do 12 times 5. And some of you in here probably know this because it is a fact that you're supposed to memorize. But we're going to use that strategy that I was telling you before. All right? So we're going to take the factor that's usually bigger, and we're going to break it apart. What are two numbers I can break 12 apart using? Marco?
10 and 2.
All right, let's try 10 and 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both of them by 5. So 2 times 5, 10. 10 times 5, 50. And if I add those two together, I get 60. Okay? Let's try another way. Let's try breaking 12 apart another way. Okay, so let me erase that. And while I'm doing that, I want you guys to think, how else can I break that 12 apart to see if I could get the same product? Okay. There should be a 5 still. All right. All right, what is another way that I can break 12 apart?
7 and 5.
7 and 5. Okay. Let's go ahead and do 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is... Oh, boys, you're killing me. 7 times 5 is... 35. And 5 times 5 is... 25. So let's see if that actually gives us the same product. 5 times 5, or not 5 times. 5 plus 5 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. And we do get 60. Can we do one more?
Yes.
Let's think of 2 more numbers that we can use. All right. Okay. Can we think of another way to break 12 apart? Andrea?
6 and 6.
6 and 6. 6 times 5 is what, Ryan? 30. And 30. And if I add 30 plus 30, I still get 60. I could get really creative. I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to break it apart 3 times and see if it still works. Okay? So, let me erase this whole thing. Thank you for being patient. I'm sure that I will get better at using Explain Everything. Alright, so I'm going to break this 12 apart and I'm going to break it up creatively. I know that 3 plus 3, no, let's do 4. I know that 4 plus 4 plus 4 is going to give me 12. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do 4, 4, 4. And I'm going to multiply each one of these by 5. And let me see if that's going to give me my magic 60. So 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 5 is
20.
4 times 5 is
20.
and if I did 20 times 3, that gives me 60. Okay?
Oh my. That's cool.
Do you want to know what's even cooler?
What?
It would still work even if I broke this smaller number apart. Even if I broke that 5 apart. Okay? So, alright. Welcome to part 3. Usually it makes more sense to break apart the top number because it's usually bigger. But you don't have to. It would still work even if you decided to break this 5 apart. Okay? So let's say I decided to break that 5 apart into 3 and 2. And then I would multiply both of those by 12. Okay? So 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 2 is 24. And if I add those two together, I do in fact get 60. Okay?
Okay.
It usually makes sense to multiply or break apart the bigger number just because it's harder to multiply by bigger numbers, but it still works even if you break apart the smaller number. Okay?